Ethan Cole's hands went numb the second she stepped off that bus. This couldn't be her. Couldn't be the woman he'd married on paper 3 days ago. The arrangement was supposed to be simple, practical woman, desperate circumstances, mutual benefit. Not this. Not her. She was impossibly, devastatingly beautiful in a way that made his throat close up. Dark hair catching the Montana sun eyes that held secrets he'd never be brave enough to ask about. His first coherent thought, there's been a mistake. His second, she'll leave the moment she sees what I really am. A broken rancher. A widower who'd forgotten how to live. A man who had no business standing next to a woman like that. If you're watching from anywhere in this world, leave a comment telling me what city you're in. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now because you'll want to follow this journey all the way to the end. The silence between them stretched so long, Ethan thought maybe she'd changed her mind. Maybe she'd realize what a mistake this was and flag down that bus before it disappeared over the ridge. But she didn't move. Neither did he. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was softer than he expected, with an accent that made every word sound deliberate. "You're Ethan Cole." It wasn't a question. "Yeah." He cleared his throat. "You're Elena." Elena Marquez. She picked up her single suitcase, worn leather corners frayed. Everything she owned, he realized, fit in that one bag. His brain kept misfiring. The woman from the letters, the arrangement his lawyer had made, she was supposed to be practical, plain. Someone who needed this marriage as badly as he needed to save the ranch. The letters had been brief, businesslike. No photographs, just agreements on paper. This woman standing before him looked like she'd walked out of some other life entirely. "You gonna just stare, or you gonna show me inside?" She said it without malice, but there was something in her tone. Weariness. Like she'd been stared at her whole life and was tired of it. "Right. Yeah. Sorry." Ethan grabbed her suitcase before she could protest. It was heavier than it looked. He led her up the porch steps, hyper-aware of the peeling paint, the broken board he'd been meaning to fix for months, the dust coating everything. The house was worse inside. He saw it through her eyes now, the bachelor mess, the dishes in the sink, the cobwebs in the corners. 5 years of not caring what anything looked like. Elena set her purse on the kitchen table and looked around without expression. "How long since your wife died?" The directness of it hit him like a punch. 5 years. "How'd you—" "The photos on the wall. They're faded in the centers. You haven't moved them, but you don't look at them anymore either." She ran her finger along the table edge, examining the dust. "The lawyer told me you lost your family. I assumed it meant wife and children." "Just my wife. We didn't have kids yet." Elena nodded, still not looking at him. "And you're about to lose the ranch." "Not anymore." The words came out harder than he intended. "That's why you're here, isn't it? Part of the arrangement. You need citizenship and a place to stay. I need someone who can help work the land and, well, the bank likes married men better than widowers when it comes to loan extensions." Very transactional. She finally met his eyes. "I can work with transactional." Something about the way she said it made his stomach turn, like she'd reduced her whole life to transactions. "Look." Ethan started, then stopped. He didn't know what he was trying to say. "I'll show you your room." "Our room, you mean?" He froze halfway to the hallway. "What?" "We're married, Mr. Cole. The paperwork is legal. If anyone asks the bank, the neighbor's immigration, we need to appear as husband and wife." She said it clinically, like she was reading from a contract. "Unless you have a problem with that." "I just figured separate rooms. For now. Until we—" "Until we what?" Elena tilted her head. "Until we fall in love. This isn't that kind of arrangement." The bluntness of it should have been a relief, should have made things simpler. Instead, it made him feel hollow. "Right. Okay. This way." He led her down the narrow hallway to the master bedroom, the room he'd once shared with Rebecca. He'd stripped it down years ago, removed everything personal except the bed and dresser. It looked like a hotel room now, anonymous, Elena set her suitcase on the bed. I'll take the left side. I don't snore and I wake early. I assume you do too with ranch work. Yeah. This whole conversation felt surreal. I'll, sleep on the couch tonight. Give you time to settle. That's not necessary. I think it is. For the first time, something flickered across her face. Maybe gratitude, maybe relief. Thank you. He left her there and went back to the kitchen, poured himself 3 fingers of whiskey, even though it was barely 4 in the afternoon. His hands shook slightly as he raised the glass. What the hell had he done? The next morning, Ethan woke to the smell of coffee. Real coffee, not the instant sludge he'd been drinking for years. He stumbled into the kitchen to find Elena already dressed in work clothes, jeans and a flannel shirt that must have been in her suitcase with her hair pulled back and flour on her hands. I made breakfast, she said without turning around. The eggs were old, but they'll do. The bread was stale, so I'm making biscuits. You didn't have to. I'm your wife now, Mr. Cole. I should earn my place. Ethan, call me Ethan. She nodded, sliding a plate across the counter. Scrambled eggs bacon she must have found in the freezer, and fresh biscuits that smelled like his grandmother's kitchen. He ate in silence, hyper-aware of her moving around his kitchen, like she'd always been there. It was unsettling. Wrong, somehow. This was Rebecca's space. Had been Rebecca's space. You got a problem with something? Elena asked, finally sitting across from him with her own plate. No, just, you didn't have to do all this. You're paying off my debts and giving me legal status in this country. I can cook breakfast. She took a bite, chewed thoughtfully. The chickens need attention. Half of them are sick, and your fence line on the north pasture is falling apart. How do you know about the chickens? I checked them this morning, before sunrise. She met his eyes. I told you I wake early. You know about chickens. Something crossed her face, a memory maybe. I know about survival, Mr. Cole. Chickens are part of that. Ethan. Ethan. She said it like she was testing the word. You should know something about me. What's that? I don't plan to be a burden. Whatever this arrangement is, I'll work for my place in it. She paused. But I also won't be treated like property. We're partners in this, even if it's temporary. Understood. He'd expected meek, expected grateful. This woman was neither. Understood. Good. She stood collecting their plates. Now show me what needs doing on this ranch. If we're going to convince a bank you're creditworthy, we better make this place look like it's worth saving. Chitor. They worked side by side for hours. Elena wasn't delicate about it either. She hauled feed-mended fence posts, cleaned out stalls without complaint. Her hands blistered within an hour, but she didn't stop. You done this before? Ethan asked as they took a water break. Done what? Ranch work. No. She examined her palms, red and raw. But I've done harder things. He wanted to ask what she meant, but something in her expression told him not to push. They kept working. By late afternoon, the neighbor's truck appeared at the end of the drive. Martin Hayes, 60-something, ran the property to the west biggest gossip in Red Valley. Well, well. Martin climbed out of his truck with a grin that made Ethan's jaw tighten. Heard you got yourself hitched, Cole. Wanted to meet the missus. Elena, this is Martin Hayes. Martin, my wife Elena. Martin's eyes went wide when he saw her, then narrowed, then went wide again. Well, I'll be damned. You really did get married. Elena extended her hand. Nice to meet you, Mr. Hayes. Just Martin, darling. He held her hand too long. Ethan noticed. You're a long way from... Where exactly are you from? South. Elena pulled her hand back smoothly. My husband and I have a lot of work to do, Martin. Was there something you needed? The way she said, my husband, made Ethan's chest do something strange. Martin chuckled, but there was no warmth in it. Just being neighborly. Wanted to make sure Cole here wasn't getting himself into something... complicated. Complicated how? Elena's voice stayed pleasant, but there was steel underneath. Well, you know, Mail-order brides, immigration situations. People talk. Let them talk. Ethan stepped closer to Elena. We're legally married. That's all anyone needs to know. Martin raised his hands. No offense meant. Just looking out for you, Cole. You've been alone a long time. Man in your position. Well, you're vulnerable to certain types of women. Elena laughed. Actually laughed. Certain types of women. Like the type who'd marry a stranger to escape a worse fate. Or the type who'd use a lonely man for citizenship. Which type am I, Martin? The old man's face reddened. I didn't mean, yes you did. She moved closer to Ethan, not touching him, but close enough to make a point. My husband and I have an understanding. It's nobody's business but ours. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a ranch to run. Martin sputtered something about being neighborly and climbed back in his truck. As he drove away, Ethan exhaled slowly. That was something. He'll tell everyone in town I'm a gold digger who trapped you. Elena dusted off her hands. Might as well get used to it now. Doesn't bother you. People have been making assumptions about me my whole life, Ethan. Because of how I look, because of where I'm from, because I'm a woman. She turned to face him. I stopped caring what small minds think a long time ago. He studied her face, really looked at her for the first time since she'd arrived. Past the obvious beauty that made his brain stutter. There were scars there. Not physical ones, but the kind that lived in your eyes. The kind he recognized because he saw them in the mirror. Why'd you really come here? He asked quietly. Elena's expression didn't change. I told you. The arrangement. There had to be other options. Other men, other arrangements. Maybe. She picked up her work gloves. But none of them were far enough away. From what? She didn't answer. Just walked back toward the barn, leaving him standing there with more questions than before. That night, Elena cooked dinner simple, but good. They ate in silence again, but it felt different now. Less awkward. More like two people who'd survived something together, even if it was just Martin Hayes's nosiness. I'll sleep on the couch again, Ethan said as he cleared the plates. You don't have to keep doing that. I know, but I will anyway. Elena studied him for a long moment. You're not what I expected. Yeah. What did you expect? Someone harder, meaner. Most men in your situation? She trailed off. Most men in my situation would have expected more from this arrangement. Her meaning was clear. Ethan set down the dish he was washing. I'm not most men. And this isn't that kind of arrangement. You made that clear yesterday. But you're still a man. A man with some shred of decency left, I hope. He turned to face her. Look, I don't know what your life was like before. Don't know what you're running from. But whatever this is between us, it's not going to be that. Not unless you wanted it to be, which you clearly don't. Something in her eyes shifted. Softened, maybe. Thank you. For what? For being decent. The words hit harder than they should have. Like decency was so rare in her life that it deserved gratitude. 3 days passed. They fell into a rhythm, wake early work. Hard eat together, sleep separately. Elena proved herself a fast learner with the ranch work. She could handle the horses better than he could, had a way with the sick chickens that actually got them laying again. The townspeople started noticing. When they drove into Red Valley for supplies, heads turned. Whispers followed them down every aisle of the general store. Just ignore them, Elena said, loading supplies into the truck bed. Easier said than done when Ethan Cole. A woman's voice, sharp and familiar. He turned to see Carol Henderson, Rebecca's best friend. She looked older now, tired. Her eyes went from him to Elena and back again. Carol. So it's true. You got married. She said it like an accusation. Yeah. Carol, this is Elena. Elena, this is Carol Henderson. She was a friend of my late wife. Carol didn't extend her hand. That was fast. It's been 5 years, Carol. 5 years and 3 months. I remember because I was at Rebecca's funeral. Were you? She looked at Elena. Carol, that's enough. Is it? Because it seems like maybe you forgot about Rebecca pretty quick. Didn't even tell anyone you were seeing someone new. Just showed up married to a stranger half your age who looks like... Like what? Elena's voice was quiet but dangerous. Carol's mouth snapped shut. Go ahead, Elena continued. Say what you're thinking. I look like what? A foreigner, a gold digger. Someone who couldn't possibly have married him for any legitimate reason. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Elena stepped closer. But let me be clear about something, Mrs. Henderson. I don't know who Rebecca was. I'm sure she was wonderful. I'm sure Ethan loved her very much. But she's gone. And I'm here. And whatever you think of me or this marriage, it's legal and it's real and it's none of your business. Carol's face went red. She looked at Ethan. You gonna let her talk to me like that? Ethan felt something shift inside him. For 5 years, everyone in this town had treated him like broken glass. Poor Ethan. Tragic Ethan. Widower Ethan who needed to be handled gently and pitied constantly. Elena didn't pity him, didn't handle him gently. She treated him like a partner. Yeah, he said. I am. Because she's right. This is none of your business, Carol. It never was. Carol's eyes went glassy. Rebecca would be ashamed of you. The words should have hurt. A year ago, they would have destroyed him. But standing there next to Elena, he felt something different. Anger, maybe. Or just exhaustion with everyone's expectations of his grief. Maybe, he said. But Rebecca's not here to be ashamed. And I've got a ranch to save and a life to live. So if you'll excuse us. He took Elena's arm gently and steered her toward the truck. They drove in silence for 10 minutes before Elena spoke. I'm sorry. For what? Making things harder for you, with your community. You didn't make anything harder. They did that themselves. He gripped the steering wheel. They want me to stay broken, stay the sad widower. It's easier for them that way. And what do you want? The question hung in the air. What did he want? He'd stopped asking himself that 5 years ago. I want the ranch to survive, he said finally. I want to stop drowning in debt. I want... What? I want to stop feeling like I died with her. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then, yeah, I understand that. The way she said it, he knew she did. Really did. That night, when Ethan headed for the couch, Elena stopped him. You can sleep in the bed. I trust you. Elena, I mean it. You've earned that trust. She climbed under the covers, staying on her side. Besides, the couch is destroying your back. I can hear you groaning in the morning. He hesitated, then nodded. Grabbed his pillow, climbed in on his side. They lay there in the darkness, a careful distance between them. Can I ask you something? Elena's voice was soft. Yeah. Why'd you really agree to this arrangement? The truth. Ethan stared at the ceiling. The bank gave me 60 days to come up with payment, or they'd foreclose. My lawyer said married men get better terms. And He paused. I was tired of being alone. Not lonely, alone. There's a difference. I know the difference. Your turn. Why'd you really come here? Silence. Long enough that he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, because the alternative was worse than marrying a stranger. What was the alternative? Marrying someone I knew. The word sent ice down his spine. Someone who hurt you. Someone who owned me. There's a difference there, too. Ethan rolled onto his side to look at her. In the moonlight through the window, he could see her profile. Beautiful, yes. But that wasn't what caught him. It was the set of her jaw. The way she held herself, even lying down like she was ready to run at any moment. You're safe here, he said. Whatever you're running from, you're safe here. Am I? She turned to meet his eyes. Or am I just in a different cage? This isn't a cage, Elena. Isn't it? We're legally bound. I can't leave without jeopardizing my status. You can't send me away without losing the ranch. We're trapped together. Maybe. He held her gaze. But there's trapped, and then there's trapped. I meant what I said. You're my partner in this, not my property. If you want to leave, I won't stop you. I'll figure something else out with the bank." "You'd really do that? Risk everything?" "I'd risk the ranch before I'd risk becoming the kind of man who keeps someone against their will." Elena's eyes glistened. "Why are you being so kind to me?" "Because somebody should be." She turned away quickly, but not before he saw a tear slide down her cheek. They lay in silence after that, but something had shifted. Some wall between them had started to crack. The bank meeting was scheduled for Monday. Ethan wore his one good suit hadn't fit him right in years, tight across the shoulders from ranch work. Elena wore a simple blue dress that made her look too elegant for Red Valley, too elegant for him. "You ready?" he asked as they stood in the parking lot. "Are you—" "Hell no." She smiled genuinely. Smiled for the first time since arriving. "At least you're honest." The loan officer, Dennis Pierce, greeted them with false warmth. His eyes lingered on Elena too long. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Mr. and Mrs. Cole, pleasure. Please sit." They sat. Dennis shuffled papers, made small talk, dragged it out. "Finally, I've reviewed your application for the loan extension. The marriage does strengthen your position, shows stability." "That's good, right?" Ethan asked. "Well." Dennis leaned back. "There are still concerns. Your revenue projections are optimistic at best. The ranch has been declining for years, and this marriage—" He looked at Elena. "How long have you two known each other?" "Long enough," Elena said smoothly. "Because you understand, Mrs. Cole, that if this is a fraudulent marriage for financial gain, that's a federal offense." "Are you accusing us of fraud, Mr. Pierce?" "I'm asking legitimate questions." "Then let me give you a legitimate answer." Elena leaned forward. "Yes, our marriage was quick. Yes, we married for practical reasons. But it's legal, it's real, and it's permanent. My husband is hardworking, honest, and dedicated to saving this ranch. If you're looking for reasons to deny this loan, find better ones than questioning the legitimacy of our marriage." Dennis blinked, clearly not used to being challenged. "She's right," Ethan added. "Every payment I've made for 5 years has been on time. My credit was good until the medical bills from Rebecca's illness. I've got a solid business plan. I've got help now." He gestured to Elena. "And I've got every intention of making this work." Dennis studied them both, then slowly. "I'll approve the extension. 3 months. If you can show significant improvement in that time, we'll talk about refinancing the full amount. 3 months. Ethan's stomach dropped. "That's not enough time to—" "It's what I can do. Take it or leave it." They took it. What choice did they have? Outside, Elena grabbed his arm. 3 months is impossible. "I know. We'll never generate enough revenue to satisfy them in 3 months. "I know. So what do we do?" Ethan looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd appeared in his life a week ago and already fought for him harder than anyone had in years. "We try anyway," he said. "We work every day, we make improvements, we document everything, and maybe, just maybe, we convince them we're worth the risk." Elena nodded slowly. Then, unexpectedly, she took his hand. "Okay, we try?" Her hand in his felt foreign, strange, wrong in all the ways that mattered, but also right in one way that mattered more. They drove home in silence, but this time it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the silence of two people who just realized they were in the same fight. That night, as they lay in bed again, separate sides, careful distance, Ethan spoke into the darkness. "Thank you for what you said in there." "I meant it." "I know. That's why I'm thanking you." More silence. Then Elena's voice smaller. "Can I tell you something?" "Anything." "I was engaged before. In my country. To a man my family chose. Very wealthy. Very powerful. Very—" She stopped. "Very what?" "Cruel. In ways that don't leave marks people can see." Ethan's hands clenched. "Did he hurt you?" "He owned me. That's a different kind of hurt." She took a shaky breath. "When I refused to marry him, he threatened my family, so I ran. Took every dollar I'd saved, paid people to help me disappear, ended up in a refugee situation that led to this arrangement. Jesus, Elena. So when I said the alternative was worse than marrying a stranger, I meant it, because at least you—" She trailed off. "At least I what? At least you see me as a person." The words broke something in his chest. What kind of life had she lived where basic human decency felt like a gift? "You are a person," he said quietly, "and you deserve to be treated like one." "So do you." "What? Everyone in this town treats you like a tragedy. Poor broken Ethan. Can't move on, can't live, can't be anything but his grief." She rolled to face him. "But you're more than that. You're smart and hardworking and kind. You deserve to be seen for that." No one had said anything like that to him in 5 years. Not one person. "We're a hell of a pair, aren't we?" His voice cracked. Two broken people trying to save a failing ranch with a 3-month deadline. Maybe that's exactly what makes us the right pair. The next morning, they started before dawn. Ethan showed Elena the books, 5 years of declining revenue, mounting debt patches upon patches of temporary solutions that never fixed anything permanently. "This is worse than I thought," Elena said, running her finger down the columns of red ink. "Yeah, I stopped looking at it months ago. Easier that way." "Easier doesn't save a ranch." She flipped to the income page. "You're underselling everything. The cattle, the hay, even the eggs." "I price what the market will bear." "The market will bear what you tell it to bear." She tapped the page. "You're thinking like a man who's already lost. We need to think like people who are going to win." Something in her voice, the certainty of it, made him look up. "You sound like you've done this before." "I haven't. But I've watched powerful men manipulate markets my whole life. They don't accept the price they're given. They create the price they want." She stood paced. "We need to rebrand this ranch. Make it worth more than the numbers say it is." "Rebrand it how?" "Organic, grass-fed, family ranch. People pay triple for a story they can feel good about." She turned to face him. "We give them that story." "Elena, I can't lie about—" "I'm not asking you to lie. Your cattle are grass-fed, aren't they? You don't use chemicals on the land." "Well, no, but only because I can't afford them. See, organic by necessity. We just market it differently." Her eyes lit up the first time he'd seen real excitement in them. "We set up a roadside stand. Sell direct. Cut out the middleman who's been robbing you blind." "That's a lot of work for maybe no return." "It's a lot of work for maybe saving this place." She crossed her arms. "Unless you've got a better idea." He didn't, so they got to work. 2 weeks later, they had a stand built at the end of the drive. Hand-painted sign, Red Valley Ranch, honest food, from honest land. Elena insisted on that wording. "Sounds like something from a commercial," Ethan had said. "Good. Commercials work." Their first customer was Mrs. Patterson, the postmaster's wife. She pulled up-eyed the eggs and beef suspiciously. "How much?" Elena smiled, not warm, but professional. "Eggs are $8 a dozen. Beef is $12 per pound. That's highway robbery. The grocery store sells factory eggs and grain-fed beef pumped full of antibiotics." Elena's voice stayed pleasant. "This is different. These chickens eat bugs and grass. This beef is from cattle that live their whole lives on open pasture. You're not paying for food, Mrs. Patterson. You're paying for quality. $8 is still—" "Then buy them at the grocery store." Elena started to turn away. "But when you do, remember that you chose cheap over good. And cheap is usually expensive in ways you don't realize until later." Mrs. Patterson's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Fine. I'll take 2 dozen eggs and 3 pounds of beef." Ethan watched the whole exchange with something close to awe. Elena had just made more in 5 minutes than he usually made in a week of selling wholesale. After Mrs. Patterson drove off, he shook his head. "Where'd you learn to do that?" "Do what?" "Sell. Convince people to pay triple the going rate." Elena's expression shifted. Something darker. I told you. I was your ex-fiancé. He wasn't my ex. We were never together, not really. He just decided I was his, and everyone agreed with him because he had money and influence and power. She busied herself rearranging the eggs. He owned a wine empire. Vineyards across 3 countries. I watched him sell bottles for thousands of dollars that cost maybe 50 to produce. The secret wasn't the wine. It was the story. What story? That it was exclusive, rare, that only people with refined taste could appreciate it. She laughed bitterly. It was all manipulation, all of it. But you're using those same tactics now. Because they work, and because this time I'm using them for something good instead of something that was slowly killing me. The rawness in her voice made Ethan step closer. Elena. We should get back to work. She moved away before he could finish. More customers will come. We need to be ready. She was right. By week's end, they'd made more money than Ethan had seen in months. Word spread. People started driving from town specifically for their products. Elena handled every sale with the same practiced charm, never warm, but effective. At night, they counted money together at the kitchen table. Elena recorded everything meticulously in a new ledger she'd bought. We're still not going to hit the bank's target, Ethan said, watching her calculate. Not at this rate. But we're moving in the right direction. 2 months left, Elena. Even if we double this, it won't be enough. Then we find another way to double it. She didn't look up from the numbers. We're not giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm being realistic. Realistic is another word for defeated. She set down her pen, met his eyes. My whole life people told me to be realistic. Realistic meant accepting what men decided for me. Realistic meant marrying someone I didn't love because it was practical. Realistic meant giving up everything I wanted to become what someone else needed. This is different. Is it? Or are you just so used to losing that you've forgotten how to fight? The words stung because they were true. 5 years of losing had taught him to expect defeat. I don't know how to fight anymore, he admitted quietly. Then learn. Elena stood, moved around the table until she was standing in front of him. Because I didn't escape one cage just to watch you surrender to another. We fight, Ethan. Together. Until there's nothing left to fight with. He looked up at her, this woman who'd walked into his life 3 weeks ago and turned everything upside down. Why do you care so much about this place? Because it's mine now too. She said it fiercely. This marriage might have started as a transaction, but this ranch, this life we're building, it's real. And I protect what's mine. Something in his chest cracked wide open. Yeah, okay. We fight. Hall. The first hint of trouble came on a Saturday morning. Ethan was loading supplies when a black Mercedes pulled up the drive wrong for Red Valley, where most people drove pickups and sedans. A man stepped out. Mid-50s expensive suit, polished shoes that had no business on a ranch. He surveyed the property like he was calculating its worth. Can I help you? Ethan asked, already not liking this. Ethan Cole. The man extended his hand. Richard Thornton. I represent Cascade Development Corporation. Ethan didn't take his hand. What do you want? Thornton smiled, unbothered. We're acquiring properties in this region, expanding our operations. I'm prepared to make you a very generous offer for your land. It's not for sale. You haven't heard the offer yet. Don't need to. This land has been in my family for 3 generations. It's not for sale at any price. Mr. Cole, I've seen your financial situation. The bank will foreclose in 2 months. You'll lose everything and walk away with nothing. Thornton pulled out a folder. I'm offering you a way out. Enough money to start fresh somewhere else. No debt. No struggle. Who told you about my financial situation? That's not important. What's important is, get off my property. Ethan's voice went cold. Now. Thornton's pleasant expression didn't waver. Think about it. You're fighting a losing battle. Why suffer through the inevitable when you could? I said get off my property. Very well. Thornton headed back to his car, then paused. Oh, And Mr. Cole, congratulations on your recent marriage. Your wife is quite striking. I'm sure she'd appreciate the financial security my offer would provide." The threat, because that's what it was, made Ethan's blood run cold. "You threaten her again and—" "That wasn't a threat, just an observation." Thornton smiled. "Beautiful women have expensive tastes. How long do you think she'll stay when the money runs out?" The Mercedes kicked up dust as it drove away. Ethan stood there shaking with rage until he heard footsteps behind him. "Who was that?" Elena's voice. "Nobody. Just some developer wanting to buy the land." "And you said no." "Of course I said no." Elena was quiet for a moment. "What did he say about me?" "Nothing important." "Ethan?" She stepped in front of him. "What did he say?" He met her eyes. "He implied you were only here for money, that you'd leave when things got bad." He expected anger. Instead, Elena's expression went carefully blank, the same mask she wore when dealing with difficult customers. "He's right, you know." The words hit like a punch. "What?" "From the outside, that's exactly what this looks like. Beautiful foreign woman marries struggling rancher in obvious financial arrangement. Of course people think I'm using you." "I don't think that." "Don't you?" She tilted her head. "Even a little. Haven't you wondered why I'm really here? What I'm really after?" "Elena, stop. Because here's the truth, Ethan. I am using you." She said it flatly. "I'm using this marriage for legal status. Using this ranch as a hiding place. Using you to stay safe from a man who would hurt me if he found me. That's what this is. I know all that. I knew it from the beginning." "Then why do you look so hurt?" "Because somewhere in the last 3 weeks, I started hoping it was more than that." The words burst out before he could stop them. "I started hoping that maybe we were actually partners. That maybe you actually gave a damn about this place. About me." Elena's mask cracked. "Ethan, forget it." He turned away. "You're right. It's a transaction. That's all it ever was." He walked toward the barn, needing distance, but Elena followed. "You want the truth?" Her voice rose. "Fine. Here's the truth. Yes, I came here for practical reasons. Yes, this started as an arrangement. But working this land with you, building something with you, fighting beside you, that became real. That became something I actually care about." "Then why did you just—" "Because I'm terrified." She spun him around. "I'm terrified that if I let myself care too much, if I let this become real, it'll all get taken away. Everything I've ever cared about has been taken from me. My freedom, my choices, my future. So yes, I push you away. I remind myself it's just a transaction, because that's safer than admitting I'm starting to—" She stopped abruptly. "Starting to what?" "Care." The word came out barely above a whisper. "I'm starting to care about you, and that terrifies me more than anything my ex-fiancé ever did." The confession hung between them. Ethan could see her trembling. "Elena, A truck horn interrupted them. Martin Hayes's truck coming fast up the drive. He jumped out before it fully stopped. "Cole, you need to see this." He thrust a newspaper at Ethan. Front page of the Red Valley Gazette. "Local ranchers' immigration fraud anonymous tip leads to investigation." Ethan's vision went white at the edges. "What the hell?" "Someone called immigration," Martin said, looking genuinely worried for once. "Said your marriage is fake. That you married her just to keep the bank happy and she married you just for a green card. They're opening an investigation." Elena grabbed the paper, scanned it quickly. Her face went pale. "When?" "Article says they could show up any time for interviews, to prove the marriage is real." Martin looked between them. "Is it real?" "That's none of your business," Ethan snapped. "It is when they're going to ask me questions. I'm your neighbor. They'll interview everyone who knows you." Martin's voice dropped. "So I'm asking you straight, is this marriage legitimate or not?" "It's legal," Elena said. "That's not what I asked." "It's legal and it's real," Ethan said firmly. "We're married, legally and in every way that matters. Now get off my property." Martin left shaking his head. Ethan and Elena stood in the driveway, the newspaper between them, like evidence of a crime. "Thornton did this," Elena said quietly. "Had to be. Trying to pressure you into selling." "Probably." "Ethan, if they investigate and find out this marriage started as an arrangement, then we make sure they don't find out." "How? We've been married less than a month. We barely know each other. How are we going to convince federal investigators that we're a real couple?" "Because we are a real couple." He took her hands. "Maybe we started as an arrangement, but what you said just now about starting to care, I feel it too. This stopped being fake the first time you stood up for me in that bank. The first time you called me your husband and actually meant it. But the investigators won't see that. Then we show them." He pulled her closer. "We show them a couple who works together every day, who fights together, who's building a life together. That's all real, Elena, every bit of it. And the part where we still sleep on separate sides of the bed, where we barely touch each other, where we're still basically strangers playing house." The challenge in her voice made something shift in his chest. "Then we fix that." "How?" Instead of answering, he kissed her. Soft at first, tentative, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. She leaned in her hands, gripping his shirt like she was afraid he'd disappear. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Elena's eyes were wide. "That's how," Ethan said quietly. "We stop pretending this isn't real. We stop pretending we're just partners. We actually try to build something real here." "You mean actually be married?" "Yeah, actually be married. If you want that." Elena searched his face. "What if I'm terrible at it? What if I don't know how to be a real wife because I've spent my whole life running from that word? Then we figure it out together. What if I'm terrible at it because I'm still grieving my first wife and terrified of caring about someone again? Then we figure that out too." She managed a shaky smile. "We're really doing this. We're really doing this." They kissed again, deeper this time. When they finally pulled apart, Elena was crying. "Hey." Ethan wiped her tears. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Everything. I just..." She laughed through the tears. "I never thought I'd actually want this. Want to be someone's wife. Want to build a life with someone. But I want it with you. Even though I'm broke and losing my ranch and probably going to fail at saving it. Especially because of that. Because you're fighting even when you know you might lose. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen." That night, they lay in bed together, still on separate sides, but Ethan reached across the gap and took her hand. "Tell me something real," Elena said into the darkness. "Something you've never told anyone." "Like what?" "Anything. I want to know you. Actually know you." Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Rebecca and I were trying for a baby when she got sick. She was 3 months pregnant when we found out about the cancer." Elena's hand tightened on his. "The doctors said the treatment might save her but would definitely kill the baby. Or she could wait, try to give the baby a chance, but the cancer would spread." His voice cracked. "She chose to wait." "Oh, Ethan." "She lost the baby at 5 months. The cancer had already spread too far. She died 3 months later." He stared at the ceiling. "I lost them both, and I've spent 5 years wondering if I could have done something different, said something different, been enough to make her choose to fight instead of wait. It wasn't your choice to make. It was hers. I know, but knowing it and accepting it are different things." Elena rolled onto her side to face him. "You want to know my real story, only if you want to tell it. My ex-fiancé wasn't just cruel, he was dangerous. He trafficked women across borders for his business associates. Presented it as opportunities for good jobs in America or Europe. But once the women arrived..." She stopped, swallowed hard. "I found out by accident. Walked in on a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. When I confronted him, he laughed. Said I should be grateful he wanted to marry me instead of sell me. Ethan's whole body went rigid. Jesus Christ. I tried to go to the police. He owned the police. Tried to go to my family. They said I was being dramatic, that a man like him would never do such things, that I should be grateful for the match. Her voice hardened. So I ran. Took all the evidence I'd gathered, names, dates, locations, and I ran. Found people who help women escape situations like mine. They got me to the border, connected me with the organization that arranges marriages like ours. Does he know where you are? I don't think so. I have been careful. Changed my name, my appearance, everything. But men like him don't forget, and they don't forgive. Elena, if he finds you. He won't. But she said it too quickly with too much force, like she was trying to convince herself. Ethan pulled her closer until her head rested on his chest. I won't let him hurt you. You can't promise that. Watch me. They lay like that for a long time, her breathing eventually evening out into sleep. But Ethan stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing that he'd just promised to protect this woman from a threat he didn't fully understand. And for the first time in 5 years, he actually cared about keeping a promise. But the immigration officers arrived 3 days later unannounced. 2 of them, a stern woman named Agent Morrison and a younger man, Agent Chen. They showed their badges at the door just after breakfast. Mr. and Mrs. Cole, we need to ask you some questions. Ethan felt Elena stiffen beside him. He took her hand, squeezed it. Of course, come in. They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Elena had kissed him that first morning, where they'd counted money together, where they'd started building something real. Now it felt like enemy territory. Agent Morrison pulled out a recorder. We're investigating a claim that your marriage may be fraudulent. Do you understand what that means? We understand. Elena said, her voice steady. And it's not fraudulent. We'll determine that. Morrison opened a folder. How long have you known each other? About 2 months, Ethan said. 2 months total, or 2 months before you married? Total. Morrison and Chen exchanged a look. That's quite fast. When you know, Elena said. It should have sounded rehearsed. Instead, it sounded true. Tell me how you met. Ethan and Elena had discussed this. Stick as close to the truth as possible. Through a mutual acquaintance, Elena said. A lawyer who knew I was looking to settle in the area and knew Ethan was looking for a partner. A partner or a wife? Both, Ethan cut in. I'd been alone 5 years after my first wife died. I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for someone who understood hard work and partnership. And you found that in Mrs. Cole. I found more than that. Morrison's expression didn't change. Where did you propose? Ethan's mind went blank. They hadn't discussed this. Elena jumped in smoothly. He didn't, not formally. We were fixing a fence post together, and I said something about the paperwork being ready. He said, then let's do it. That was the proposal. Not very romantic, Chen observed. Romance isn't always roses and speeches, Elena said. Sometimes it's working side by side and choosing to build a life together. Morrison made a note. What side of the bed do you sleep on, Mrs. Cole? Left? And what does your husband wear to bed? Elena didn't hesitate. T-shirt and boxers, usually gray or black. He runs hot at night, so he kicks the covers off around 3 a.m. Morrison turned to Ethan. What's your wife's morning routine? She wakes at 5:30, makes coffee first thing, strong no-sugar splash of milk, checks the chickens before breakfast, hums while she cooks, usually old songs in Spanish. What songs? Ethan's mind raced. Elena had hummed yesterday morning. What was it? Bésame mucho. She hums it a lot. Morrison looked at Elena. Is that true? Yes, my mother used to sing it. Elena's voice softened. I didn't realize he noticed. I notice everything about you, Ethan said, meeting her eyes. It wasn't for the agents, it was true. Morrison stood abruptly. We need to see the bedroom. They led the agents down the hall. Ethan's heart now both sides of the bed used Elena's clothes mixed with his in the closet, her hairbrush on the dresser next to his comb. Morrison examined everything with cold efficiency. Opened drawers, checked the closet, studied family photos on the nightstand. She picked up one of Rebecca. "Your late wife." "Yes." "And Mrs. Cole is comfortable with you keeping her photo displayed," Elena answered before Ethan could. "She was part of his life. Part of what made him who he is. I'm not threatened by a woman who loved him first." Morrison set the photo down. "We'll need to interview neighbors, friends, business associates. See if your story holds up." "It will," Ethan said. "Because it's the truth." After they left, Elena sat heavily on the bed. "That was close. You were amazing. I was terrified." She looked up at him. "What if someone tells them we barely knew each other before the wedding? What if Martin Hayes mentioned seeing me arrive with one suitcase like I was running from something? Then we tell them the truth, that we married quickly, but it's real now. They won't care about now, they care about then." Elena stood paced. "Ethan, if they deport me, they won't." "You can't know that." "I know I'll fight like hell to prevent it." Before Elena could respond, his phone rang. The bank. Dennis Pierce's assistant asking him to come in immediately. "Both of you," the assistant added. Mr. Pierce was very specific. They drove to town in tense silence. Inside the bank, Dennis looked grave. "We have a problem," he said without preamble. "Cascade Development Corporation has made a formal offer to purchase your debt." Ethan's stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" "It means they're offering to pay off what you owe us, then they become your creditor instead of the bank, and they can set whatever terms they want." "Can they do that?" "If we accept their offer, yes. And frankly, Mr. Cole, it's a very attractive offer. Removes a bad loan from our books." "So you're selling me out?" "I'm protecting the bank's interests." "What are their terms?" Elena asked. Dennis slid a paper across the desk. "They're accelerating the payment schedule. Full amount due in 30 days instead of 60? "That's impossible." Ethan's voice rose. "We can't possibly." "Which is exactly the point," Elena said quietly. "They want you to default. Then they foreclose and take the land." Dennis nodded. "I'm sorry, but unless you can come up with a significant payment in the next 30 days, you'll lose everything." Outside, Ethan slammed his fist against the truck. "They're squeezing us from every side. The investigation, the loan, all of it. Thornton wants this land and he's going to take it." "Then we don't let him." "How we can't make enough in 30 days to satisfy them." Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then, what if we didn't try to save the ranch? What if we sold it ourselves on our terms, used the money to pay off the debt and start fresh somewhere else? The suggestion felt like betrayal. "This land has been in my family for 3 generations, I know. But Ethan, maybe it's time to let go. Maybe fighting for something that's already lost is just..." "Don't." He cut her off. "Don't tell me to give up. You're the one who said we fight until there's nothing left." That was before I knew how bad it was. Before I realized we're not just fighting the bank, we're fighting a corporation with unlimited resources and no conscience. So we just surrender. That's your answer. It's called being realistic. It's called being scared. The words hung between them, sharp and accusatory. Elena's face went pale. "You're right. I am scared. I'm scared of losing everything again. I'm scared of watching you break yourself trying to save something that can't be saved. I'm scared of caring too much," Ethan finished. "That's what this is really about. You're looking for an excuse to run before this gets too real. That's not fair. Isn't it? Every time things get hard, you pull back. Every time we get close, you find a reason to create distance. Because I've learned that caring about things means losing them." Elena's voice cracked. "Everything I've ever loved has been taken from me. My freedom, my family, my future. The one time I let myself care about someone, he tried to own me. So yes, I'm scared. I'm terrified of letting this place matter. Of letting you matter. Because when I lose it, and I will lose it, Ethan, we both will, it's going to destroy me. The raw honesty of it stopped him cold. Elena, no. You need to hear this. I'm not good at this. At being someone's wife, at building a life, at staying when things get hard. My instinct is always to run. Always. And right now every part of me is screaming to run before I get hurt worse. But you're still here. Barely. Tears streamed down her face. I'm barely holding on, Ethan, and I don't know how much longer I can do it. He pulled her into his arms. She resisted at first, then collapsed against him, sobbing. Then let me hold on for both of us, he whispered. Just for a little while. Until you remember how to fight. They stood like that in the parking lot, two broken people clinging to each other while the world tried to tear them apart. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He lay next to Elena. She'd finally stopped crying around midnight and fallen into exhausted sleep and stared at the ceiling, running calculations in his head. Every scenario ended the same way. Foreclosure, loss, failure. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Still interested in selling offer stands. Better than losing it all. RT, Richard Thornton. Somehow he'd gotten Ethan's personal number. Another text. Beautiful wife you have. Would be a shame if her immigration troubles got worse. Ethan's blood ran cold. He slipped out of bed, called the number back. Thornton answered on the first ring. Mr. Cole. Couldn't sleep. You threatening my wife. Threatening no. Simply observing that immigration cases can be complicated. Especially when there are questions about the legitimacy of a marriage. You son of a... I'm a businessman, Mr. Cole. I want your land. You want to keep your wife in the country. Seems like we could help each other. How? Sell me the ranch. Use the money to pay your debts, satisfy the bank. I'll make certain phone calls and the immigration investigation disappears. Everyone wins. Except I lose my family's land. You're going to lose it anyway. This way you walk away with something, and your wife stays safe. Ethan's grip on the phone tightened. And if I refuse, then the investigation continues. People start digging into your wife's background, where she came from, who she's running from. Thornton paused. I have resources, Mr. Cole. I can find out anything about anyone, including what Elena Marquez is really afraid of. The threat was clear. Thornton could expose, Elena could lead her dangerous ex-fiancé right to her. You have 48 hours, Thornton said. After that, my offer expires and things get very complicated for both of you. The line went dead. Ethan sat in the kitchen, head in his hands. Every option led to loss. Fight and lose everything, including Elena's safety. Surrender and lose his family's legacy, but maybe keep Elena safe. How long have you been up? He turned to find Elena in the doorway, wearing one of his old flannel shirts. Can't sleep. She sat across from him. Talk to me. He should lie, should protect her from this, but they'd promised honesty. Thornton called, made an offer. What kind of offer? Sell him the ranch, he makes the immigration investigation go away. And he implied he could find out about your past, about the man you're running from. Elena's face went white. He's bluffing. Is he? He's got resources, connections. If he digs deep enough, then my ex-fiancé finds me. She said it flatly. And everything I've built here, everything I've become, it all disappears. Not if we take Thornton's deal. You'd really sell, give up your family's land. Ethan met her eyes. To keep you safe. Yeah, I would. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. No, Elena said finally. Elena. No, we don't negotiate with men like him. I've spent my whole life letting powerful men dictate my choices. I won't do it anymore. Not even to stay safe. This is different. This is the same thing in a different package. She leaned forward. Ethan, if we give in now, men like Thornton win. They always win. And I'm done letting them win. Even if it means risking everything. Especially then. Fire lit her eyes, the same fire he'd seen that first day at the roadside stand. We fight. Not because we'll win. Because we refuse to surrender. You're crazy. Probably. She smiled, but there was pain in it. But I'm your kind of crazy. So what do we do? Ethan thought hard. They needed money fast. Needed to prove the marriage was real. Needed to protect Elena from both the investigation and whoever was hunting her. We go public, he said slowly. What? With everything. The story of how we met, why we married, what we're fighting for. We control the narrative before Thornton can twist it. That's insane. If we admit the marriage started as an arrangement, we don't admit that. We tell the truth that we married quickly because we recognized something real. That we're building a life together. That we're fighting to save this ranch from a corporation trying to steal it. He grabbed her hands. People love an underdog story. We give them one. Elena searched his face. You really think that'll work? I think it's our only shot. They spent the next day preparing. Elena wrote their story down, carefully edited, emphasizing the real parts, downplaying the transactional beginning. Ethan called the local newspaper, asked for an interview. The reporter, a young woman named Sarah Chen, arrived that afternoon. She listened to their story with growing interest. So, you're saying Cascade Development is using intimidation tactics to force you to sell? They've threatened my wife's immigration status, Ethan said. Made it clear they'll make our lives hell unless we surrender. Do you have proof? Ethan showed her the texts. Sarah's eyes widened. This is news. Big news. She looked at Elena. But I have to ask, your marriage is very recent. Some people might question its legitimacy. Some people can question all they want, Elena said. Doesn't change the fact that I love him. It was the first time either of them had said that word. Ethan's breath caught. Sarah smiled. That's a good quote. This story runs tomorrow. Front page. After she left, Ethan turned to Elena. Did you mean it? Mean what? What you told her. About loving me. Elena looked away. I don't know. Maybe. Is that okay? Yeah. His voice was rough. That's more than okay. She finally met his eyes. I've never said that to anyone before. Not romantically. I don't know if I even know what it means. It means you're scared to lose me. Terrified. It means you'd rather fight beside me than run away. Most days. It means when I'm not in the room, you wish I was. Elena nodded slowly. All of that. Is that love? I think so. I hope so. He pulled her close. Because I feel all those things about you too. They kissed, and this time it was different. Deeper. More certain. Like they were claiming each other instead of just testing the waters. When they finally pulled apart, Elena was crying again. I'm so bad at this. At what? At being vulnerable. At letting someone in. At believing this is real. Then we learn together. He wiped her tears. Because I'm pretty bad at it too. The article hit the next morning. Front page, just like Sarah promised. Local ranch family fights corporate takeover. They're trying to destroy us. The response was immediate. The phone started ringing before dawn, neighbors offering support, strangers from surrounding counties, saying they'd experienced similar pressure from Cascade, others wanting to buy their products directly. By noon, they had orders for more beef and eggs than they could possibly fill in a month. This is insane, Ethan said, writing down yet another name and number. This is working. Elena tallied the orders. If we can fulfill even half of these, we'll have enough to make a significant payment to the bank. But we can't possibly produce. Then we recruit help. Other ranchers who are fighting the same fight. We create a cooperative. A what? A collective. Pool resources, share profits, fight back together. Her eyes lit up. That's how you beat corporations. Not by fighting alone, but by building something bigger than they can destroy. Martin Hayes was their first recruit. He showed up that afternoon, hat in hand. "Read the article," he said gruffly. "Cascade's been pressuring me too, offering to buy me out. I told them no, but they're persistent." "So you want to join forces?" Ethan asked. "I want to fight back, and your wife's right, together we're stronger." He looked at Elena. "I'm sorry for judging you, for thinking you were using him. You're tougher than I gave you credit for." Elena smiled. Apology accepted. Within a week, they had 6 ranches in the cooperative. Within 2 weeks, 12. Orders poured in faster than they could fulfill them. The story spread beyond Red Valley Regional News, picked it up, then state level. Small-town ranchers fight corporate greed became a rallying cry. Donations started arriving. Small amounts, mostly $20 here, $50 there, but they added up. People sending checks with notes. "Don't let them win. Fighting for you. Keep going." Ethan and Elena worked 18-hour days coordinating deliveries, managing orders, keeping the coalition together. They fell into bed exhausted each night, barely able to talk. But they were winning. Actually winning. Until the day Agent Morrison returned. She arrived alone this time, her expression unreadable. "We've completed our investigation," she said. Ethan felt Elena tense beside him. This was it. Everything they'd built could disappear in the next 30 seconds. "And?" he asked. Morrison pulled out a folder. "We interviewed 17 people, checked financial records, examined phone logs, emails, everything. And..." Elena's voice was barely a whisper. "Your marriage is legitimate." Morrison said it without emotion. Rushed, yes. Unconventional, certainly. But real. The case is closed. Ethan felt his knees weaken. "Are you serious?" "We don't joke about these things, Mr. Cole." For the first time, Morrison's expression softened slightly. "You're free to build your life together. Good luck with the ranch." After she left, Ethan and Elena just stood there stunned. "We won," Elena said finally. "We actually won. One battle. Still got the bank to deal with. And Thornton. But we won this one." She grabbed his face, kissed him hard. "We won, Ethan." They celebrated that night, modest celebration, just the two of them, and a bottle of wine Martin had brought over. They sat on the porch as the sun set, watching the land stretch out before them. "I never thought I'd have this," Elena said quietly. "A home, a partner, a purpose. You thought you'd spend your whole life running. Yeah, feels strange to stop." Ethan took her hand. "You don't have to stop. Just run toward something instead of away." "Like what?" "Like us. Like this life we're building. Like a future that's ours instead of something someone else decided for us." Elena leaned her head on his shoulder. "I like the sound of that." They sat in comfortable silence until headlights appeared on the road. A car Ethan didn't recognize pulled up the drive. A man stepped out. Expensive suit, dark hair, cold eyes. He looked at Elena and smiled. "Hello, mi amor. Did you really think you could hide from me forever?" Elena went rigid, her face drained of all color. The man from her past had found her. Ethan stepped in front of Elena before she could move. "Who the hell are you?" The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Diego Vargas. I'm here for what belongs to me." "Nothing here belongs to you," Ethan said, his voice deadly calm. "Get back in your car and leave." Diego laughed. "You must be the rancher. The desperate man who married my fiancée thinking he was getting a bargain. She's not your fiancée. She's my wife. A piece of paper doesn't change what she is, what she'll always be." Diego's eyes moved past Ethan to Elena. "Come here, mi amor. We have much to discuss." Elena's voice came out strangled. "How did you find me? Did you really think you could disappear? I own people in every city, every state. It just took time. He pulled out his phone, showed her something on the screen. Your newspaper article was helpful. Such a touching story about the poor rancher and his beautiful bride fighting the big bad corporation. Very American. Ethan's blood ran cold. The article. Their attempt to control the narrative had led Diego right to them. I'm not going with you, Elena said, stepping beside Ethan. Her hand found his gripped tight. You don't have a choice. She has every choice, Ethan said. She's a citizen now, married to me, legal. You have no claim on her. Diego's expression darkened. You think a marriage means anything I can make that disappear. One phone call and the investigation reopens. One conversation with the right people and your little farmhouse romance becomes an immigration scandal. The investigation is closed. Agent Morrison can be persuaded to look again. Everyone has a price rancher. Even federal agents. Diego took a step closer. Here's what's going to happen. Elena comes with me voluntarily, or I destroy everything you've built. Your ranch, your reputation, your cooperative of pathetic farmers playing hero. All of it disappears. You can't do that. Can't I? I have connections you can't imagine. Business partners who make your Mr. Thornton look like a street vendor. Diego smiled. In fact, Thornton works for me. Has for years. Who do you think told him to target your land? The revelation hit like a physical blow. You're behind Cascade. I'm behind many things. Cascade is just one piece. When Elena ran, she took something that didn't belong to her. Evidence of my business dealings. I want it back. Elena's hand tightened on Ethan's. I don't have it anymore. I gave it to the authorities. Liar. Diego's voice turned vicious. You're too smart for that. You kept insurance. You always were cautious even when you pretended to be docile. Where is it? I told you, I don't. Diego pulled a gun from his jacket. Not pointing it at anyone yet, just holding it. Making his point clear. Ethan moved fast, pushing Elena behind him. Put that away. Or what you'll fight me. You're a rancher, not a soldier. You don't want this fight. Try me. For a long moment they stared at each other. Then Diego laughed, but it was cold. How noble. The brave husband protecting his wife. Elena always did have a talent for making men fall for her. It's that face, that body, makes men stupid. Last warning, Ethan said. Leave. Now. I'm not leaving without what I came for, either the evidence or Elena, preferably both. Elena's voice came from behind Ethan, stronger now. The evidence is in a safety deposit box, in a bank in Seattle. If anything happens to me or Ethan, it automatically gets released to the FBI. So you can't touch us without destroying yourself. Diego's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. Am I? Want to test that theory? Kill us both and find out if the FBI receives a package full of your trafficking records, your money laundering operations, names of every person you've paid off. Elena stepped out from behind Ethan. I've spent 2 years preparing for this moment. You taught me well always have insurance. You little... I learned from the best. Her voice was ice. Now get off my property. Your property. Diego laughed again. You own nothing. You are nothing without me. Wrong. Elena moved to stand fully beside Ethan. I'm everything without you. I'm free. I'm married to a good man. I'm building a real life. And you can't take any of that from me. Can't I? Diego raised the gun slightly. One bullet ends this. Ends him. Then you have nothing again except me. Then you go to prison for murder. And the evidence still gets released. Elena's voice didn't waver. You lose either way. Ethan could see Diego calculating weighing options. The man was dangerous but not stupid. He wouldn't risk everything on impulse. This isn't over, Diego said finally. I'll give you 48 hours to produce the evidence. Real evidence, not empty threats. If you don't, I'll destroy this ranch, your husband, and every person who helped you. Then you'll come back to me anyway because you'll have nowhere else to go. I'll never come back to you. We'll see. Diego backed toward his car gun, still visible. 48 hours, Elena. Don't make me come back here with less patience. He drove away, dust rising in the darkness. Ethan and Elena stood frozen until the taillights disappeared. Then Elena collapsed. Her legs just gave out. Ethan caught her, lowered them both to the porch steps. "I'm sorry," she gasped. "God, Ethan, I'm so sorry. I brought this to your door. I brought him here and now—" "Stop. This isn't your fault." "It is. All of it. I should have told you how dangerous he was. Should have warned you that men like him don't let go. Should have what stayed in that cage? Let him own you." Ethan tilted her face up. "You did what you had to do to survive. And now we deal with it together. He'll destroy everything. You heard him. He owns Thornton, probably half the county. He can make good on every threat. Let him try. You don't understand. Diego doesn't bluff. If he says he'll destroy the ranch, he will. If he says he'll hurt you, he will. He's killed people for less." Ethan felt ice in his veins, but kept his voice steady. "Then we go to the police. Show them everything." "With what proof? The evidence I mentioned, it doesn't exist. I was bluffing." "What?" "I never kept copies. I was too afraid he'd find them, use them to track me. Everything I had I gave to a refugee organization when I crossed the border. They promised to keep it safe, use it if I disappeared." Her voice broke. "But I have no way to access it now. No way to prove anything. It was a desperate lie." Okay. Ethan forced himself to think. "So we don't have evidence, but we have witnesses, people who've seen him threaten us. Just us. Our word against his. He's wealthy, connected, powerful. We're nobody. We're not nobody. We're people who've been fighting corporate greed for weeks, people with community support, people with a story that already made news." He stood, pulled her up with him. "We use that. We go public again. Tell everyone about Diego, about the threats, about Cascade's real ownership. He'll deny it all. Maybe. But once it's public, he can't move against us quietly. Too many eyes watching." Elena searched his face. "You really think that'll work?" "I think it's our only shot." He cupped her face. "But Elena, I need to know, is there really evidence somewhere? Any way to actually prove what he's done?" She was quiet for too long. Then, "There might be. The organization I gave everything to, they said they'd only release it if I died or went missing. But maybe I could contact them. Ask them to release it now." "Why didn't you mention this before?" "Because contacting them means revealing where I am. And if Diego's monitoring them, which he probably is, it tells him exactly where to find me." She pulled back. "It's a trap either way. Contact them and he finds me. Don't contact them and he finds me anyway. Then we contact them and we're ready for him." They spent the night planning. Elena had a name, Maria Santos, the woman who'd helped her escape. A phone number she'd memorized but never used. "If I call her, I have to do it from somewhere Diego can't trace," Elena said. "A burner phone. We'll buy one tomorrow in the next county. Make the call from there." "And then what?" "Then we get that evidence released. We bring down Diego and everyone connected to him, including Thornton and Cascade." Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You make it sound simple." "It's not simple. It's terrifying, but it's our only move." They didn't sleep that night. Lay in bed holding each other, listening to every sound outside, jumping at shadows. "I never should have come here," Elena whispered in the darkness. "Don't say that." "It's true. You'd still have your peaceful life. Your ranch wouldn't be under attack. You wouldn't have a murderer threatening you. I'd also still be half dead inside, going through motions, waiting to lose everything alone." He pulled her closer. "You woke me up, Elena. Made me remember what it feels like to fight for something, to care about someone. I'll take the danger if it means having you. Even if it costs you everything. Even then." She kissed him, desperate and fierce. "I love you. I don't know if I'm saying it right, or if I even know what it really means, but I love you. I love you too, and we're going to survive this." "How can you be sure?" Because we've survived everything else. And we're stronger together than apart. Morning came too fast. They drove 2 counties over, bought a burner phone with cash, found a quiet spot by a lake where no one would hear. Elena's hands shook as she dialed. It rang 4 times before someone answered. Hola. Maria. It's Elena. Elena Marquez. Silence. Then, Dios mío, Elena, we thought you were dead. I'm alive, barely. Maria, I need your help. The evidence I gave you, I need you to release it. Elena, that evidence is your only protection. If we release it and it doesn't stick, you'll have nothing left. I have nothing left anyway. Diego found me. He's threatening everyone I care about. The only way to stop him is to expose him. More silence. How did he find you? Long story. Can you release the evidence or not? It's not simple. What you gave us, it's extensive. Names, dates, locations of trafficking operations across 3 countries. If we release it publicly, people will die. Witnesses, victims, people who trusted us to protect them. Elena's face went white. I didn't think about that. You were desperate and afraid. But we have to be strategic. We can't just dump everything and hope it lands right. Maria's voice softened. But there may be another way. What if we gave it to specific reporters? People we trust to investigate properly, protect sources. How long would that take? A week, maybe 2, to do it right. I don't have 2 weeks. I have 48 hours before Diego comes back and destroys everything. Then we release enough to buy you time. Just enough to show he's dangerous to get law enforcement interested. The rest we hold back until it's safe. Elena looked at Ethan. He nodded. Okay, do it. Send what you can to protect people I care about. The rest can wait. Elena, be careful. Men like Diego don't surrender easily. I know. That's why I'm fighting. She hung up, sat in silence for a moment, then threw the burner phone in the lake. That's it then, she said. We've triggered the bomb. Now we wait to see if it explodes in our faces or his. They drove home to find Sheriff Patterson waiting in their driveway. A different kind of dread settled in Ethan's stomach. Ethan. Elena. Got a minute? What's this about, Sheriff? Patterson held up a paper. Got a restraining order request here. Against you, Elena. Filed by a Mr. Diego Vargas. Claims you stole property from him and he fears for his safety. That's insane, Ethan said. He came here last night with a gun threatening us. You got proof of that. We're the proof. We were both here. Your word against his, and he's got lawyers already preparing harassment charges. Patterson looked uncomfortable. Look, I don't like this any more than you do, but without evidence, my hands are tied. He's a criminal, Elena said. He traffics women across borders. He owns Cascade Development. He's been targeting this ranch specifically because I'm here. That's a serious accusation. You got proof. It's coming. Evidence is being released to journalists as we speak. Patterson's expression shifted. What kind of evidence? The kind that'll put him away for life. But until it's public, we need protection. I can't provide protection based on allegations. You need to file a formal complaint, get documentation. By the time we do that, we'll be dead. The bluntness of it made Patterson flinch. You really think he'd kill you? I know he would. Patterson was quiet for a long moment. Then, officially I can't do anything without evidence. Unofficially, I'll have a deputy drive by your place every few hours. Keep an eye out. But Elena, if this guy is half as dangerous as you say, you two should leave. Get somewhere safe until this blows over. This ranch is our home, Ethan said. We're not running. Even if staying gets you killed. Even then. After Patterson left, Elena turned to Ethan. He's right. We should run. Take what we can disappear, start over somewhere Diego can't find us. Is that what you want? I want you alive. Everything else is negotiable. Everything else is what makes life worth living. Ethan took her hands. This ranch, this community, the life we're building, I won't surrender it. Not to Thornton, not to Diego, not to anyone. Even if it means dying, better to die fighting for something real than live running from everything. Elena's eyes filled with tears. You're insane. Probably, but I'm your kind of insane. You said so yourself. She kissed him hard. If we die, I'm going to be so angry with you. If we die, I'll already be dead, so your anger won't bother me much. Despite everything, she laughed. How can you joke at a time like this? Because if I don't laugh, I'll start screaming and never stop. The evidence hit the news that evening. Not everything Maria had been strategic, releasing just enough to make Diego look dangerous without exposing all the victims, but it was enough. Prominent businessman under investigation for human trafficking ran on 3 major news sites. Diego's photo front and center. Details about his wine empire, his international connections, his suspected involvement in moving women across borders. Within hours, the story spread. National news picked it up. Federal investigators announced they were looking into the allegations. Ethan and Elena watched the coverage together, hardly daring to breathe. It's working, Elena whispered. It's actually working. Don't celebrate yet. He's going to be furious. Let him be furious. He can't touch us now. Too many people watching. But Ethan's instincts screamed that it wasn't over. Men like Diego didn't go down quietly. He was right. Diego returned that night, but not alone. 3 men with him this time, all armed. They surrounded the house before Ethan even knew they were there. The front door crashed open. Ethan grabbed his rifle from the closet, but one of Diego's men was already in the hallway, gun pointed at his head. Drop it! Ethan dropped it. They dragged him and Elena into the living room. Diego stood by the fireplace, his expression murderous. You think you're clever releasing that information. All you've done is sign your death warrant. The FBI is investigating you, Elena said, trying to keep her voice steady. If we disappear now, they'll know it was you. They'll suspect. They won't prove. I've avoided prosecution for 15 years. You think some news articles will change that? Diego moved closer. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call your little reporter friend. Tell her you made everything up, that you were angry and wanted revenge for a failed relationship. No, or I kill your husband right here, right now, in front of you. Diego pulled his gun, pressed it against Ethan's temple. Your choice, mi amor. His life or your pride? Elena's face crumbled. Diego, please. Please, you're begging now. Where was this humility when you stole from me, when you ran like a coward, when you married this nobody and thought you could escape me? Let him go. I'll do whatever you want. Just let him go. No, Ethan said. Elena, don't. Diego hit him across the face with the gun. Blood exploded from his nose. Shut up. You don't get a vote. Diego turned back to Elena. Make the call, now, or watch him die. Elena reached for her phone with shaking hands, pulled up Sarah Chen's number. Her finger hovered over the call button. Then headlights flooded the room. Multiple vehicles, doors slamming, shouting. FBI, everyone on the ground now. Diego's men panicked. One ran for the back door. Agents swarmed through both entrances, weapons drawn. Drop your weapons, hands where we can see them. Diego still had his gun on Ethan. For a terrible moment, Ethan thought he'd pull the trigger out of spite. Then Agent Morrison appeared in the doorway. Mr. Vargas, step away from Mr. Cole, now. Diego's jaw clenched, but he lowered the gun, raised his hands. They arrested all 4 men, read them their rights, took statements from Ethan and Elena. Morrison approached them afterward. We've been building a case against Vargas for months. Your evidence accelerated everything. We had warrants ready to go, just needed confirmation he was here. How did you know to come tonight? Elena asked. Sheriff Patterson called. Said he had a feeling things were about to go bad. Asked us to keep an eye on your place. Morrison almost smiled. Turns out, his instincts were good. After they left with Diego in custody, Ethan and Elena sat on the porch steps, watching the sun start to rise. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Elena said, Is it really over? I don't know. Maybe. Probably. I can't believe he's actually in custody. Ethan pulled her close. But we've still got Thornton and the bank and 30 days to save this ranch. Elena started laughing. Couldn't stop. Hysterical laughter that turned into sobs. We survived a murderer, and we're still going to lose the ranch. That's insane. Welcome to my life. She wiped her eyes. What do we do now? We fight, like we always do, until there's nothing left to fight with. I'm so tired of fighting. Me too. But we're almost there. Diego's done. Thornton's exposed as connected to a criminal. The cooperative is working. We just need 30 more days of miracles. 30 days of miracles. Elena leaned her head on his shoulder. That's a lot of miracles. Then we better get started. As the sun rose over Red Valley, they sat together, battered, exhausted, terrified, but still fighting, still hoping, still choosing each other over everything else. The ranch might still be lost. The bank might still foreclose. But they'd survived the night. And sometimes survival was enough. The phone started ringing at dawn. First Martin Hayes, then Carol Henderson, then people Ethan barely knew, all wanting to know if the news was true. If Diego Vargas had really been arrested at their ranch. If the stories about Cascade Development were real. It's all true. Ethan told them over and over. Every word. By noon their driveway was packed with trucks. Neighbors, cooperative members, townspeople who'd never given them the time of day before. They brought food offers of help, questions about what happened. Elena stood on the porch overwhelmed. I don't understand. These people barely knew us yesterday. They know you now, Martin said, climbing out of his truck with a checkbook. And they know you're the real deal. Been following the news all morning. Vargas's connection to Cascade, the trafficking charges, all of it. You two exposed the whole operation. We didn't mean to become a news story, Elena said quietly. Maybe not. But you did. And now everyone wants to help. He handed her the check. $5,000. From me and my wife. For the ranch fund. Elena's hands shook as she took it. Martin, we can't accept. You can and you will. That bastard Vargas tried to buy my land too. Threatened my family when I refused. You stopped him. This is the least I can do. More checks came throughout the day. $50 from the postmaster. $200 from the hardware store owner. $1,000 from a rancher 3 counties over who'd lost his land to Cascade 2 years ago. This is what I wanted you to see, someone said behind Ethan. He turned to find Dennis Pierce from the bank looking uncomfortable in casual clothes instead of his usual suit. What are you doing here? I came to apologize and to tell you that the bank is reconsidering your situation. Reconsidering how? The board met this morning. With Cascade's ownership structure exposed with Vargas under federal investigation, the pressure to accelerate your loan has disappeared. We're reinstating the original 60-day timeline. Ethan felt the ground shift under him. You're serious? More than that. Given the circumstances and the community support you've generated, we're prepared to offer more favorable terms. Lower interest rate, extended repayment period. Dennis pulled out papers. You'll still need to make significant payments, but it's achievable now. Elena appeared beside Ethan. Why the sudden change? Because you were right. Cascade was using us to pressure you. And when we realized we'd been manipulated by a criminal organization, it became a liability issue. The bank can't be associated with human trafficking investigations. Dennis shifted uncomfortably. Also, you've become a symbol. The small ranchers fighting back. If we foreclose on you now, we look like villains. The board can't afford that kind of publicity. So you're helping us to save face. I'm helping you because it's the right thing to do. Even if it took us too long to realize it. Dennis met Ethan's eyes. I'm sorry for doubting you, for making this harder than it needed to be. After he left, Ethan and Elena stood in stunned silence. Did that just happen? Elena asked. I think so. We have 60 days instead of 30. Better terms. Community support. She started laughing. We might actually save this place. Don't celebrate yet. We still need to come up with a lot of money. But the money kept coming. The cooperative sales had tripled after the news broke. Orders flooded in from across the state, people wanting to support the ranchers who'd exposed corporate corruption. Elena worked 18-hour days coordinating deliveries, managing inventory, keeping everything organized. 2 weeks in, they'd raised $40,000. Not enough, but getting closer. Then Richard Thornton showed up. He looked different, defeated, smaller somehow. He stood at the end of their driveway like he was afraid to come closer. "What do you want?" Ethan asked, not bothering to hide his hostility. "To apologize, and to explain. Nothing you say will change what you did. I know, but I need to say it anyway." Thornton took a breath. "I didn't know about Vargas's trafficking operations. I swear I didn't. He approached me 5 years ago, said he was expanding his investment portfolio. Offered to finance Cascade if I helped him acquire properties in Montana. Said he wanted to develop resort communities. And you believed him." "I wanted to believe him. He offered money I couldn't refuse, and I got greedy." Thornton's voice cracked. "But I never knew, never suspected. When the news broke about what he really was, what he really did with those women, I've barely slept since." "You still tried to steal our land," Elena said coldly. "I did, and I can't undo that, but I can try to make it right." He pulled out an envelope. "This is the paperwork to dissolve Cascade's claim on your debt. I'm releasing you from any obligation to us, and I'm donating $50,000 to your cooperative." Ethan took the envelope, not quite believing it. "Why?" "Because I was complicit. Maybe not knowingly, but my actions helped a monster. The least I can do is help his victims." He looked at Elena. "You were brave. Braver than I've ever been. You deserve to win." After Thornton left, Ethan opened the envelope. Everything was there. Legal documents releasing them from Cascade's purchase of their debt, a check for $50,000 made out to the Red Valley Ranchers Cooperative. "Is this real?" Elena whispered. "Looks real. So we're actually going to make it." Ethan did the math in his head. The donations, the sales, Thorntons checked the improved bank terms. "Yeah, we're going to make it." Elena burst into tears. Not sad tears, relieved, overwhelmed, grateful tears. Ethan held her while she sobbed against his chest. "I can't believe it's over," she managed between gasps. "I can't believe we actually won. Not just won. We changed things. The cooperative, the community standing up to corporations, all of it." "But at what cost?" She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "We almost died, Ethan. Multiple times. Diego could have killed us. Was it worth it? Was what worth it? All of this. The fighting, the fear, the constant terror." She gestured around them. "For a piece of land." "It's not about the land. It never was." "Then what was it about?" "Choosing to fight instead of surrender. Choosing to build something instead of running. Choosing each other." He cupped her face. "You asked me weeks ago why I agreed to this arrangement. Truth is, I was drowning. In debt, in grief, in the weight of everything I'd lost. You threw me a rope, and when I grabbed it, you didn't let go. You didn't let go either, even when I gave you every reason to. Because I love you, and love means holding on when it's hardest." Elena kissed him soft and certain. "I love you too. More than I thought I could love anything." They stood like that for a long moment, just holding each other in the afternoon sun. The final payment was due on a Tuesday. Ethan and Elena drove to the bank with a folder full of checks, donations, and sales receipts. The cooperative had contributed. The community had rallied. They'd worked themselves to exhaustion for 2 months straight. Now came the moment of truth. Dennis Pierce met them in his office, Agent Morrison beside him. Seeing the FBI agent made Ethan's stomach drop. "Is something wrong?" "No," Morrison said. "I'm here with good news. The evidence Mrs. Cole helped provide has led to the recovery of significant assets from Vargas's criminal enterprises. including liquid assets that were acquired through illegal means. I don't understand, Elena said. The government is seizing Vargas's money, his properties, everything connected to his trafficking operations. And we've been authorized to provide restitution to his victims. Morrison pulled out a document. Mrs. Cole, you qualify for victim restitution. The amount is substantial. She slid a paper across the desk. Elena picked it up. Read it, went pale. This can't be right. It's correct. $200,000. For the trauma you endured, the life you lost, the danger you faced escaping him. 200,000. Elena couldn't finish the sentence. It's yours. No strings attached. Compensation for what was taken from you. Ethan looked at the number, then at Elena. That's more than enough to pay off the ranch completely. With money left over to expand the operation. I don't want his money, Elena said quietly. Every dollar is stained with what he did, with the women he hurt. Then don't think of it as his money, Morrison said gently. Think of it as your freedom, your future. He took so much from you. Let this be what you take back. Elena was quiet for a long time. Then, can I split it with the other victims, the women he trafficked? They need it more than I do. That's your choice. But Mrs. Cole, you're a victim too. You deserve this. Elena looked at Ethan. What do you think? I think you should do whatever feels right to you. This is your decision. She took a shaky breath. Then I'll take half. 100,000. Use the rest for victim services therapy, whatever those women need. She met Morrison's eyes. But only if you promise it actually goes to helping them. You have my word. After Morrison left, Dennis processed their payment. The donations from the community, the cooperative's earnings, Elena's restitution money. Congratulations, he said finally. Your loan is paid in full. The ranch is yours free and clear. Ethan couldn't speak, just stared at the paperwork that said his family's land was safe, that 3 generations of work wouldn't disappear, that he'd actually done it. Elena squeezed his hand. We did it. We did it, he echoed, voice rough with emotion. They drove home in silence. Not because there was nothing to say, but because there was too much. When they pulled up to the house, the entire cooperative was waiting. Martin Hayes, Carol Henderson, neighbors, friends, people who'd helped them fight. Well, Martin called out. Did we do it? We did it, Ethan announced. The ranch is ours, completely paid off. The cheer that went up could probably be heard in the next county. People crowded around congratulating them, hugging them, celebrating like the victory was their own. Because it was. Ethan realized. This wasn't just about saving his ranch anymore. It was about proving that ordinary people could fight back and win. Carol Henderson approached Elena, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry for how I treated you, for judging you. You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for. You don't have to apologize. I do. I let my grief over Rebecca cloud my judgment. Made you feel unwelcome when you deserved support. Carol took Elena's hands. Rebecca would have liked you, would have respected what you've done here. Elena's eyes glistened. Thank you. That means more than you know. The celebration lasted into the evening. Someone brought out a guitar. People sang, laughed, shared stories of the past 2 months. Of the fear they'd felt, the anger at being pushed around, the hope that grew when they realized they weren't alone. As the sun set, Ethan found Elena standing apart from the crowd, looking out over the land. You okay? He asked. Just thinking about how different my life is now. 2 months ago, I stepped off a bus with 1 suitcase and terror in my heart. Now I have a home, a community, a husband I actually love. Any regrets? About marrying you? Not one. She turned to face him. About everything else I don't know. The fear, the violence, the near-death experiences, that part I could have done without. We both could have, but it led us here, to this moment, where we're free and safe and together. She took his hand. So maybe it was worth it after all. Ethan pulled her close. I used to think my life was over when Rebecca died, that I'd just exist until the ranch fell apart and I had nothing left. Then you showed up and turned everything upside down. I'm good at that. You're good at a lot of things. Fighting, working, loving, being braver than anyone I've ever met. He paused. Elena, I want you to know something. This ranch, it's yours too now. Legally, emotionally, every way that matters. If you ever want to leave to go somewhere else, start fresh without all the baggage, stop. She put her hand over his mouth. I'm not leaving. I'm not running anymore. This is my home. You're my home. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She smiled. Besides, someone has to keep this place running. You're terrible at the business side. He laughed. That's true. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to expand the cooperative, bring in more ranchers, create a real alternative to corporate agriculture. We're going to prove that small operations can thrive if they work together. We, you and me, partners in everything. She kissed him softly. Unless you have a problem with that, no problem at all. 3 months later, Ethan stood in the same spot where he'd first seen Elena step off that bus. So much had changed since that dusty afternoon. The roadside stand was now a permanent structure. The cooperative had grown to 20 ranches. Orders came in faster than they could fill them. And Elena had transformed from the frightened woman hiding from her past into a force of nature. She ran the business side of the operation with precision-negotiated deals with restaurants and stores across 3 states, spoke at agricultural conferences about sustainable farming and cooperative economics. She was brilliant. And she was his. What are you thinking about? Elena asked, walking up behind him. About the first day you arrived. How terrified I was that you'd realize what a mistake you'd made and leave. I almost did, multiple times. She wrapped her arms around him from behind. But then I realized something. What? That mistakes can turn into miracles if you're brave enough to see them through. He turned to face her. You calling our marriage a mistake? I'm calling it the best mistake I ever made. They stood together watching the sunset over land that was finally truly theirs. The house behind them was full of life, now new furniture, fresh paint, warmth in every room. The chickens were healthy. The cattle were thriving. The garden Elena had planted was starting to bloom. I never thought I'd have this, Elena said quietly. A real home, a real marriage, a real future. What did you think you'd have? I thought I'd spend my whole life running, always looking over my shoulder, always waiting for the next disaster. She leaned her head against his chest. But you taught me something, Ethan Cole. What's that? That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop running. Stand your ground. Fight for what matters. She looked up at him. You taught me that I was worth fighting for. You always were. You just couldn't see it yet. Neither could you. We were both so broken when we met. And now, Elena smiled. Now we're still broken. But we're broken together. And somehow, that makes all the difference. A truck pulled up the drive, Martin Hayes, with his weekly delivery of supplies for the cooperative. He waved, honked his horn, kept going toward the barn, where the other ranchers were gathering for their weekly meeting. We should go help them, Elena said. In a minute. Ethan pulled her closer. First, I want to tell you something. What? Thank you. For what? For stepping off that bus, for staying when it got hard, for fighting beside me, for choosing this life, for choosing me. His voice roughened. You saved me, Elena. In every way a person can be saved. Tears slipped down her cheeks. You saved me too. You saw me as a person when everyone else saw either beauty or an obstacle. You treated me with dignity when I'd forgotten what that felt like. You loved me when I didn't know how to love myself. They kissed as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Two people who'd been strangers 2 months ago forced together by desperation and necessity. Two people who'd fought for survival and found something neither expected. Love. Real, messy, complicated, beautiful love. Come on, Elena said finally, taking his hand. We have work to do. Always. That's the deal when you marry a friends. You complaining? Never. This is exactly where I want to be. They walked toward the barn together, toward the community they'd built, toward the future they'd fought so hard to create. Behind them, the house stood solid against the darkening sky. The land stretched out endlessly, full of possibility and promise. Ethan Cole had thought his life ended the day Rebecca died. Had thought he'd never feel whole again, never fight for anything again, never love again. He'd been wrong about all of it, because Elena Marquez had stepped off that bus and changed everything, challenged him, pushed him, stood beside him when the world tried to tear them apart. And in the process, they'd both discovered something neither knew they were searching for. They'd discovered that broken things can be mended, that desperate choices can lead to extraordinary outcomes, that sometimes the person you least expect becomes the person you can't live without. And they'd discovered that real love isn't found in perfection or easy circumstances. It's forged in fire, built through struggle, proven in the moments when giving up would be easier than holding on. Elena squeezed his hand as they reached the barn. Ready? Always, Ethan said. As long as you're beside me. Then we're ready for anything. And they were.